A school has the following number of students in each year group. There's 100 in year 9, 200 in year 10, and 150 in year 11. The head teacher wants to do a survey to find students' opinions about the school. She doesn't have time to ask every single student, so she's going to do a sample of 90 students and ask them their opinions. Now, we need to be careful of who these 90 students are. We can't just ask students at random. Because, for example, if, let's say, somebody's idea is to ask the first 90 students who come through the gate on a Monday morning, that is not going to represent every student's opinion. First of all, they're going to be the keen students because they're going to be the first onto the school site on a Monday morning. So we would only end up with keen students' opinions. We wouldn't get every student's opinion. Secondly, it might be that all 90 of those students are all in year 9, for example. Therefore, we wouldn't end up getting year 10 or year 11 students' opinions. So my point is we need to be considerate about who makes up the sample. For example, there should be twice as many year 10 students in my sample as year 9 students, because there are twice as many year 10 students as year 9 students. Therefore, I should ask twice as many in my sample. So this is what stratified sampling is all about. Once you've got your sample size, figuring out how many of these should be year 9 students, how many of these should be year 10 students, and how many of these should be year 11 students. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add up how many students there are to get a total. And that tells me that the proportion of all the school that I am sampling is 90 out of 450, or 1/5. This simplifies down to be 1/5. So that's saying that I should ask 1 out of every 5 students. So in year 9, if there are 100 students in total, I should ask 1/5 of those. So 1/5 times 100 is 20. So there should be 20 students in year 9 in my sample. In year 10, I should do 1/5 of 200, which is 40. And you can see here, there are twice as many year 10 students as year 9 students in my sample, like we expected. And then finally, I should do 1/5 of 150 to work out how many students from year 11 should be in my sample, which is 30. And I can do a quick check here to just make sure that I've got the right number of students in my sample. If I add these numbers together, 20 plus 40 plus 30 gives 90, which is how many students I want to be in my sample. So there we go. That's how we can work out how many of each group should be in my sample. So a stratified sample is appropriate to ensure that the same proportion of each group is included in the sample, so that that sample is representative of the whole population. And this is the general formula. The number of each group in the sample is equal to the sample size divided by the population times the group size. Basically, this is the fraction that you are going to take and include in your sample times the group size. That's the formula. However, I think it's much easier to think of it in these steps here. Work out the sample proportion, which will be the sample size divided by the total, and then get that fraction. You can simplify it if you want, and then times that by each group size.